Turtles talk, handcuffs get used in disturbing ways, and people die. Yep, this is just another one of those episodes that definitely puts the bizarre in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind as we get this much closer to the finale of the entire season. And this episode right here was one hell of a shocker. Not only did we get the big twist that all of the characters have officially swapped bodies with one another, but we actually get a massive character death. A death that I did not see coming, and I'd wager that anyone who doesn't read the manga version couldn't have predicted what could have happened in this episode. So most of this episode was just coming to grips with the fact that all of these characters have swapped minds and bodies with one another. This was established in the last episode. But the question was, who is in Bruno Bucciarati's body? We got to learn in the last episode that Diavolo has been possessed by the soul of Bruno, and supposedly that means that Diavolo is supposed to be in his body, but that's not necessarily the case. I actually predicted in my last episode that since the boss of Passione is actually two distinctive personalities, that they could potentially split off and go into different places. And it's almost made painfully clear that Doppio is actually in the body of Bruno Bucciarati, but Diavolo actually went somewhere else. And that's where the paranoia sets in this episode. What body did he actually go to? It could potentially be anyone here. However, I do have a personal theory on who that is, but before we get to that, let's talk about the freaking death of a main character. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it now, because I'm about to spoil it right here. Ready, steady, here we go. This episode features the death of Narancia. Who the hell saw that coming? It came from absolutely nowhere, and the way that it actually happened was incredibly disturbing. After Mista, who was in the body of Trish, decided to pump a couple of bullets into Bruno's body to stop him from moving for the fear that's Diavolo, suddenly we get to see that King Crimson is still active and it's actually attacking people, and suddenly it goes after Narancia, who is in Giorno's body. Within like a split second, all the characters suddenly notice that Narancia is just impaled on a giant amount of metal spikes. There's no way that he's going to recover from this, and interestingly enough, when this happens, Narancia dies, and all that's left is sort of like an empty shell, which is Giorno's body, and through some sort of weird, bizarre JoJo magic, Giorno is actually able to return to his body, with Narancia returning to his. Unfortunately, the problem is he has died in this moment. This is a really shocking moment. It lets us know that any of these characters could die at any second here. It is freaking insane. I really loved the moment, though, when Narancia died, where we suddenly cut to a scene of Panicotta Fugo, who's walking through the streets of Italy, and he looks up into the sky, almost realizing that his old friend had actually died. I didn't think that we would see Fugo again. He has no lines at all, but his expression pretty much says it all. I also really loved the moment where, kind of like when Abakio died, you got to see like his body in the skies. Here you actually get to see the silhouette of the Aerosmith airplane as it's flying over the clouds, and it suddenly transforms into a bird flying in the sky. It's dime store Japanese anime symbolism, basically saying that Narancia has ascended into heaven, but honestly, it's a great moment. I'll say this right now, the JoJo series really knows how to send off a character when they die, but honestly, it just felt so sudden, so shocking to see a main character like suddenly just killed like this. I did not see it coming, and it was just one of the craziest deaths from this entire season. Again, we're basically down to the bare minimum of main characters at this point. But let's get to the real brass tacks. Chariot Requiem. The Requiem stand of Jean-Pierre Polnareff is basically making its way randomly through the streets of Rome, and it's continuing to cause people to switch minds and bodies, and it's really weird. Weird in the sense that it's just a strange phenomenon, but also disturbing in the sense that there's a lot of scenes here that just really freak me out. Like, there's a guy who actually switches bodies with his dog. There's this very disturbing scene of a mother and her baby who swap bodies, with this mother being in the defenseless body of this baby having to look after her child who's now an adult woman. And then of course there's the cop and the criminal who switch places with one another. In the original episode before, we got to see that there was this criminal who was in the back seat who suddenly has now swapped places with a cop, and now has a cop's uniform and his weapon and can pretty much do what he wants, and even goes after Trish, who is actually Mista inside of her body, and tries to sexually assault her, when suddenly Mista takes some handcuffs, shoots this guy in the freaking cheek and actually ties him to a freaking pole. That looks painful as shit. But it gets even crazier here, folks. They're actually going after Chariot Requiem, and they try to do it a number of times in the episode, and it's actually kind of easy. It's just sort of slowly trudging forward like a zombie, a man on a mission, if you will. Its mission is to protect the arrow at all costs, and not only can it switch the minds and bodies of people, but it also has the distinctive ability to repel stand abilities and send them directly back at their users. We see that a number of times in this episode, and there's a really great way they display it when Giorno actually tries to go after the arrow, and suddenly Golden Experience's hand starts to come up out of the ground and starts to attack him, but as he moves away, it suddenly starts to retract. So the only way that they're going to be able to utilize the power of the arrows and to stop Diavolo is they're going to have someone with non-stand powers to do this. And it just so happens that Jean-Pierre Polnareff in the Turtle's body can actually pull this off. And this makes sense because Requiem is actually working completely independent of Jean-Pierre at this point. They are no longer connected. They are two separate beings, and when he went into the body of the turtle, he's not able to use that stand anymore, thus he's basically just a goofy talking turtle, and he decides to take this arrow at the end and use it on Mista right before Diavolo can make his grand appearance. Now again, where is Diavolo? Whose body is he in? My theory is that right now, he is currently in the body of Mista, who's being possessed by Trish. The only reason that I say this is that Trish has always had the distinctive ability to sense her father's power. They have like this weird sort of same soul wavelength, so to speak. And the reason that she can't seem to sense it is because Diavolo is already there right now within Mista's body. They are basically of the same soul wavelength, so she can't tell that he's actually there the entire time. She just feels that it's only her who's actually alone. That's my personal theory. There could be another twist, and Diavolo could be popping up out of anybody at any point at this time. He could be just a random person in the streets for all we know. He could be in the Turtle with Jean-Pierre Polnareff. But I honestly think that's the way that things are probably going to go. There was a couple of hints to it in this episode, but damn, was it insane. The death of a main character, Requiem going on a rampage, and everybody freaking out with the fact that they're hanging out in other bodies. So, what's the rundown on this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind? One thing I want to go ahead and mention is that I did not talk about the new intro from the last episode, and you guys really wanted me to talk about that, and I'm going to give my opinion on it now. It's awesome. One of my favorite things about the JoJo series is how they always manage to change up the intros and sort of have fun with the viewers. It's the type of series that now, after watching this episode, I have to remember watching the series from now on. I'm never skipping another intro again. They always manage to sort of change things up. We got to see this in Stardust Crusaders during the big scene where Dio was using the world and froze things and was able to slowly walk towards Jotaro. We saw it in the last season, Diamond is Unbreakable, with Kiriyoshi Kage, who managed to use the power of his stand to actually like turn back time and like sort of make everything go back in reverse. And here we kind of get to see the same thing. During the intro, there are these flashes of Diavolo when suddenly he uses the power of King Crimson to sort of just freeze everything, and you get to see that the music subtly changes. There's blood droplets which are just hitting on the ground, and you have this really gnarly image of Diavolo who's going up against Giorno as they prepare to finally throw down with one another. This is interesting, as before we actually didn't get to see Diavolo's true form in the intro, but here we see it in full, and it is freaking awesome. Again, I think that JoJo has some of the best damn anime intros. Not only are they just really fun in terms of their imagery and the music is always just gnarly as all hell, but they have fun with the viewers. They reward people who've actually been watching the series with these little Easter eggs and these little details that only they would notice. I love that they keep doing this, and I can only pray that they're going to continue to do it in the future of the franchise. So yes, guys, I love the new intro. I think it's great, and it's a fantastic variant on what is otherwise an intro that has truly grown on me. I made it clear that I loved the first intro, Fighting Gold, a little bit more, and I have to be perfectly honest, I still like it a little bit more. But this intro right here is solid as hell. Really like it. But this episode right here, really, it's the death of Narancia that freaks me out the most. It feels wrong to kill off that character, especially because Narancia is kind of like, you know, he's like the kid of the group. Like, he's the character who should not be allowed to die. He seems like he has so much potential for the future. He was definitely one of the youngest members, if not the youngest member of Bruno's group. And we've spent so much time with him at this point, and he had such a strong connection to Trish that I felt that he was going to ultimately end up being a little more important. But this episode made it clear that anyone's head is on the chopping block, and if you're attached to a certain character, well, be prepared. They might die an extremely violent death. And the way that he was killed by being impaled on all of those rods and poles going through his body was fucked up. Why Giorno could actually return, I don't know. I'm not going to question it. This series has a lot of weird shit in it, and honestly, this isn't even the weirdest stuff that we've seen. Also, just visually, again, I love the look of Requiem. It's so simple but awesome, super intimidating, human-like, but also alien at the same time. I also love the fact that it's not necessarily a powerhouse, but it's also the type of thing that you can't really get all that close to for the fear that it's actually going to cause a lot of damage for you. Really, this episode blew me away, kind of like the rest of the season in JoJo in general, and I highly recommend it if you haven't been watching it. And I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 5. Shocking, beautiful, action-packed, funny at times, and distinctively JoJo in every single sense. Great episode right here. If any of you guys did watch it, I'd love to get your thoughts about it. You can tell me all of them in the comments section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Were you shocked by the death of Narancia? Where is Diavolo? What body is he hiding in? And what do you hope to see from the big finale of Golden Wind? Thank you all for watching this review. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more anime reviews, topic discussions, and even reaction videos. One of the best ways to support my channel is simply to watch the videos, like them, and share them with your friends. But if you want to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon and my PayPal account. Remember, a little bit goes a long way in supporting this channel, and if any of you manage to donate $10 or more on my Patreon, I will review an anime series of your choice. So thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.